After falling to the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, the New York Jets have fallen, speaking of fallen, to 4-6, and they're behind the 8 ball in the AFC. If they want to give Aaron Rodgers a chance to make history and come back sooner than we've ever seen anyone come back in the NFL, he claims, and it looks like Zach Wilson no longer the answer in New York if he ever was. Tim Boyle is going to be starting this week for the New York Jets. John Butchko from Locked On Jets joins me now to try and explain to the audience, John, who that is.
There's a quarterback they brought in the offseason. He's spent time, I think, in Green Bay, in Detroit. He was supposed to be the third string quarterback. You know, the classic, he knows the system guy you bring in is like your number 3 quarterback. He actually played pretty well in the preseason against the Giants. He came into the game on Sunday against Buffalo in the second half as the Jets benched Zach Wilson. Look, I mean, this reminds me of the saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. Is Tim Boyle going to save the Jets season? Probably not. The Jets just had to do something at quarterback. This offense was not producing, and it's not all Zach Wilson's fault. Zach Wilson is a part of the failure, but this is an offense where the line has been decimated by injuries. They don't really have much at receiver outside of Garrett Wilson. You know, Alan Lazard, who they signed from Green Bay, has been a major disappointment this year. After him, it gets very thin, very fast. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett's doing a very good job as coordinator, but something big needed to change. And it's not all his fault. Zach Wilson is the quarterback of this team, and he hasn't been playing very well. And I mean, this offense, I'll take you through their performance since week 5. Week 5 against Denver, they had 1 touchdown. It was a Breece Hall 70-yard run for a touchdown. The next week against Philadelphia, they had 1 touchdown. It was a Breece Hall run on the first play of a series where the Eagles let them score because it was one of those late game situations where the Jets could have run the clock down and kicked the game-winning field goal. They had their bye week. The next game they played was against the Giants. They scored 1 touchdown. It was Breece Hall taking a 50-yard pass to the end zone. They then went 2 straight games without a touchdown. Against Buffalo, they scored 1 touchdown, and that drive required 2 fourth down conversions, including a fake punt. This offense just isn't putting the ball in the end zone, and at some point you have to make a change for the sake of making a change, even if you don't really believe Tim Boyle's the answer. Maybe he can give you a spark the way Mike White had for like 1 week the last couple of years.
Yeah, and all of this with the backdrop of Aaron Rodgers, the reporting that he is targeting a return date in mid to late December. We'll see exactly what that looks like. I remain dubious. I think this all raises the question, though, John. You know, you see what's going on in Minnesota with Josh Dobbs. The Browns bring in Joe Flacco, who has spent time in New York over the last few seasons. There were some options out there at the trade deadline. Why did New York stick with Zach Wilson instead of trying to bring in, let's say, a Jacoby Brissett or some of these other veteran backups that potentially could have been targets for them a couple weeks ago?
You know, I'd even go back beyond the trade deadline. I never understood the plan, and this is not a second guess. This is something I said before the start of the season. I can produce the tapes from Locked On Jets. I just don't understand what the team's approach has been at backup quarterback, because Zach Wilson being the backup was a bad idea from the outset. And it's almost, to me, and you know, I guess I'm putting my conspiracy hat on, like they were afraid that people would question them because, hey, this is the number 2 pick and he's not even one of your top 2 quarterbacks. I think maybe they rolled the dice that it wouldn't come to that Aaron Rodgers would stay healthy. And I think it's come back to hurt them.
Let me throw a conspiracy at you. Speaking of conspiracies, my conspiracy, and I don't think it's a conspiracy, is that the Jets didn't do anything essentially out of deference to Aaron Rodgers. This idea, oh, he can come back. So they said, okay, well, we're not going to do the thing that would probably be smart, knowing he's probably not going to come back. Go and try and make a move. No, we don't want to upset the apple cart with Aaron Rodgers. What do you think of that idea?
You know, I can't say whether it's true or not, but what I will tell you is that this team has shown an extreme degree of deference to Aaron Rodgers since he has arrived. You know, even before he arrived, they hired Nathaniel Hackett. That was a move designed to try and help get Aaron Rodgers, convince him to come to the Jets. And they brought in Alan Lazard, they brought in Randall Cobb, they brought in Billy Turner, they brought in a lot of former Packers. So, you know, I don't think I'd be surprised if that was the case. And I'm with you. You know, last week on Sunday Night Football, they said Aaron Rodgers was running on the treadmill. He was putting 50% of his weight on his foot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, anything's possible. Recoveries happen, at a faster rate than they used to. Modern medicine's amazing, but is the guy going to go from being able to put half of his weight on a foot to being in condition to play an NFL game in 7-8 weeks? I mean, that seems like a lot to me.
Stay up to date on the New York Jets by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Jets on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube.